happy that you are joining us and being a part of this event. You are all welcome. I'm happy to welcome you to this first technical section of our dear new association, the PAIDeF. In this event that is live right now, we will be having a lot of exciting time. And I want to set the ground rules and then let us know what our programs look like, and then we can run along with it. Today, we will be having our opening ceremony in the next few seconds. And we will commence by letting us know who our guests are, and then our president, Professor Oludele Awodele, the president of PAIDeF, will be giving us the welcome address, and that will be the next voice we'll be hearing immediately after now. Then the opening remarks, we are going to take that from Dr. Sirajo M. Aliyu, who is the president of NCS. Of course, you know, PAIDeF is an interest group of the Nigeria Computer Society, the umbrella body for computing association in Nigeria. And then we will have just a very brief moment to listen to Dr. Mrs. Kudirat Adegoke, who is the General Secretary of PAIDeF. And then we actually take a small keynote address, and then we'll be done with the opening ceremony. Then we move deep, a deep dive into the technical section. Today, the technical sections are really, really interesting. The first technical section will be restoring diacritics in Nigerian languages, challenges and solutions. And of course, as you have seen from our website, Professor Philip O. Ogumbona from the University of Wollongong in Australia will be presenting that section. It will be a 40 minutes of real technical discussion on restoring diacritics in the Nigerian languages. After that, we'll have a technical talk again on creation of NLP resources in the Igbo languages, and we'll look at different tools and techniques of doing that. And Chiamaka Chukwuneke from Lancaster University in the United Kingdom will be handling that for us in this event. Immediately after that, we will take the next language, which is the Hausa language, on the topic methods for developing NLP resources for the Hausa language. And of course, our speaker will be Abdul Kwal Mukhtar Abubakar from iHope Global Services. He will be taking that section for us. And then after we are done with these technical sections, we will have a wild moment of Q&A section. So you have different questions, and these speakers are all available to answer all of those questions. And then we'll have our closing remarks, which will be taken from Professor Simon Sodia, who is the chairman of the board of advisors of PAIDeF in Nigeria. And that will be a wrap for the event today. While this event is ongoing, please make sure that you remain muted. The chat is open for you to send in messages, maybe to call our attention on one thing or the other. We'll be able to pick it and then do the right thing that we ought to do. There is also an open Q&A tab for you to put in your questions when it is time for us to start picking every bit of those questions. And when you are asking your question, we will ask that you find a cool location. This section is being recorded. It's actually being recorded, so we don't want noises at the background. Get a cool location so that when you are unmuted and then you are talking, we will not hear any noise at the background, so that when you're watching the section again, being a technical section, you will simply enjoy it without any noise at all. So it's my pleasure to welcome the 145 persons who are currently online right now. This event is scheduled to host over 1,000 participants, and in the next few minutes, I'm sure more persons will join, and then our number will keep increasing. And it's going to be a whole 3-hour event. So you're going to be seated for 3 hours. So just go ahead, grab your popcorn, get a bottle of wine, and begin to enjoy yourself while the sections are all ongoing, so that you don't have any boring moment at any time. I know it's a technical section. It may become somehow dry at some time, but please make sure you are putting in your questions, and then we'll be able to pick it up to answer effectively. Okay? NLP is an interesting area of computing, and I'm sure you will enjoy yourself being here. Now, do one thing for us. This event, even though it is registered, it is free. I want you to pick the link and share it across your different platform that we are now live. The event is live. Everyone can join us. Once you click on the link, you are able to join immediately. It is not restricted. So currently, it's not restricted. You don't need to register before joining at this moment. So simply pick the link, send it to your different contacts. Everyone in computing in Nigeria, across the world, is allowed to join us in this event. Oh yes, the number is increasing. I have 162 from 150 something. So let's the number keep increasing and let's get the momentum up going at every time. You're welcome to this event. Having said this, we'll take our welcome remark immediately from the president of PAIDeF, Professor Oludele. Please, Prof, if you're on the call, please, you can go on. Okay, it seems we are yet to have Prof on the call. While we wait for that, we can take the talk from our secretary. Let's take the talk for our secretary, Dr. Kudirat Abiola. Doc, please, can you go on? Hello, Dr. Kudirat. Okay, I was told that the welcome remark, as well as the call for the PAIDeF membership, will all be taken by the secretary. Please, can you go on, please? Dr. Kudirat Abiola.
Hello, good morning, all. Good morning, Dr. Emeka. I hope you can hear me.
Good morning, my secretary.
Good morning, ma.
Yes. Yeah, thank you very much. You are all welcome. I am sorry the National Professor Oludele Awodele just called me that he had an emergency official engagement and that he will not be able to present, but I should stand in for him. So I would like to start by taking his presentation first before we now go to the introduction of the PAIDeF to our members. So permit me to share my screen, please.
Go on, Doc.
Yeah, you have not enabled that. Please kindly do that. Give me that row. Thank you.
Go ahead, doctor.
All right.
What's going on?
Yes, I'm trying to share my screen.
It's okay.
Can you see me?
Yes, we can see you. We can see you.
Okay.
I see you.
Okay. Just try to enlarge the screen.
You are a bad boy.
Yeah. Now, can you see it clear?
Yes, you can see it clear, ma.
We can see it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
It's clear now.
This is a welcome address presented by to be presented by Dr. Kudrat Abiola on behalf of Professor Oludele Awodele, who is the national president of the Practical Artificial Intelligence Development Foundation, also known as Nigerian Foundation for Artificial Intelligence. Protocols, the Chairman Advisory Board, all ESCO members here present, Director of Education and Capacity Building, other organizing committee members, our facilitators, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning all and welcome to the first webinar of this Practical Artificial Intelligence Foundation, which is organized on restructuring the activities in Nigerian languages, the challenges and the solutions. Today marks an important step in our collective journey towards preserving and promoting the rich linguistic heritage of Nigeria. Our diverse languages, each adorned with unique diacritics, are not just means of communication, but carriers of our history, culture, and identity. However, as technology continues to evolve, it becomes imperative that we address the challenges and explore innovative solutions for integrating these diacritics into the digital world. We are privileged to have with us three distinguished speakers who bring a wealth of knowledge and expertise to this discourse. First, I would like to introduce Professor Philip O. Ogubona from the University of Wollongong, Australia. Professor Ogubona will delve into the creation of natural language processing resources in Yoruba language, the tools to be used, and the techniques in which it will be handled. His insights and experiences will undoubtedly shed light on the possibilities and methodologies for developing natural language processing resources that respect and incorporate our linguistic intricacies. Next will be Chiamaka Chukwuneke from Lancaster University, UK, who will provide practical insight into gathering Igbo language dataset for various NLP tasks, and Abdul Qahar Mukhtar Abubakar, who specializes in natural language processing, will demonstrate practical approaches to gathering Hausa language datasets for various NLP tasks, alongside with our Director of Capacity Building, Dr. Emeka Oguju, who will engage us in a thought-provoking session. This expertise will help us to understand the practical aspects and challenges of restoring the diacritics in our languages and the techniques necessary for this critical task. As we embark on this journey of knowledge and discovery, let us remember that the restoration of diacritics is not merely an academic exercise, but it is a vital endeavor to ensure that future generations can fully appreciate and engage with our languages in their authentic forms. It is a task that requires our collective effort our unwavering dedication, and our commitment to cultural innovation. I encourage each of you to actively participate in the discussions, ask questions, and engage with other esteemed speakers. Let this webinar be a platform for collaboration, innovation, and meaningful dialogue. Together, we can overcome the challenges and pave the way for a future where our languages will flourish in the digital era. Thank you for joining us today, and I look forward to a productive and engaging session. God bless you all. Thank you. You may stop. So, Dr. Mecca, over to you. The floor is yours.
All right. Thank you so much, Doc. It's my pleasure that you are able to get this done. Thank you so much. Right. So we move into the technical sections right away without wasting more time. Thank you for all of that.
Sorry, sir. Before you go into that, sorry to cut you. Can you mute everyone so that there's a lot of distraction and I don't want that to come in during the technical presentation.
All right. Thank you. We have said that that will be done. So the next voice we'll be hearing will be the voice of Professor Philip. Professor Philip will be taking the first section of our meeting.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Guju. Let me just sort of turn my video on so that people can see me. Can you see me? Can you hear me? Yep. Okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you very much. And before I put my presentation on, let me just sort of also respect protocols here. I'll pay my respect to all the organizers of this webinar, the executive of the Nigerian Computer Society, the PAIDeF executive, and my director, who is in charge of the education and capacity building. We've been working together to get this going. So I'm going to be talking about more kind of a general talk to start with, and that will sort of pave way to what my other colleagues will be talking about. So I'm going to start sharing my slide with you now. Okay. So, yes. I'm not too sure. Can you see my screen? Can you see my screen now?
Yeah, perfect. We can see.
Okay, so you can see my presentation, I mean.
Perfect, yes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. Just I need some feedback so I know. Let's see what's going on. Let me just sort of put it in full display. Okay. Thank you very much again, and I want to welcome everyone to this first webinar of the Practical Artificial Intelligence Development Foundation. And it's a great pleasure for me to be part of this organization, despite the fact that I live far away, but I'm very, very Nigerian here, and I would like to sort of share some of my ideas about restoration of diacritics in Nigerian languages. So my talk would be modeled along the following lines. I'll first of all talk about language, meaning, and culture. And the reason why I want to talk about this is that I want to give some kind of context. I think my colleague, Dr. Adigoke, started talking about some of the ideas that actually underpin all of this. So I want to talk about language, meaning, and culture. There, I will say a few things about why we really need to pay attention to this, why Nigeria needs to pay attention. And it's something that I'm very passionate about. So you might see me being very passionate about how I'm going to be talking about it. Then I'll then go into some elements of language that really that is of importance for us for this discussion. And I'll talk about natural language processing workflow. And the reason why I want to talk about that is that my understanding is that not everyone is on the same level in terms of understanding about what NLP is all about. So I will take some time to talk about NLP workflow and the various techniques that we can use to make things happen. And then I will talk about the automatic diacritics restoration, one specific technique. I will talk about many techniques that can be used for it, but I'll pick one specific one which I found to be very interesting. It was developed by some group of Nigerians. So I want to say that upfront now. It is not especially my work, but it's a work that I'm very interested in. So that's why I'm going to present it. And then I will then share my bibliography with you. Okay. Now, when we sort of look at language, it's something that probably we take for granted. But as a matter of fact, humans sort of get together. Let me just sort of put my timing on so that I don't go over time. Just make sure. Excuse me. Okay, thank you. Right. So we look at language and we sort of take it for granted, but inherent in language, there's some kind of structure to it. We have the vocabulary, which essentially tells us what word means what. Each word is sort of associated with something. But even beyond that, we have got the concept of you have an idea in your head and you have to verbalize it so that someone who you're speaking to or you're communicating with will understand you. And when you string words together, there has to be some kind of I would say rules that you use to put it together, so we all have a common understanding of how we write things, we put things together. So it becomes a means of conveying meaning, and it's very important in the sense that we can look at that meaning from the point of view of I have an idea in my head, I speak to you about it, I may convey my meaning to you, I'll say accurately, or you may sort of get that meaning from me in a probably roundabout way that you probably don't understand what I'm trying to say. So the concept of meaning there is very important. It has to be kind of shared worldview that we have. So the other thing that we also do is that we sort of have this language in terms of maybe we have spoken language, we have maybe sign form. For example, now I'm doing gesticulation, gestures, sign language is also part of it. And probably most importantly is the concept of writing. And writing is very critical, because if you look at a lot of the languages that we have in Nigeria, our languages are not intrinsically written. Even if you go back as far as we can sort of remember in historical terms, we've always used maybe some other kind of characters to represent our language. Say, for example, I think the Ajami, which is a form of Arabic script, has been used for Hausa language and for Yoruba language in the past. But essentially, we do oral transmission of information from one to another. That's how we record things. But writing becomes critical for us because it's a means of actually recording things for a long period of time. I won't say forever, but for a long period of time. So writing is what we want to talk about today, essentially. Now, so when we look at, say, the language itself, we use it to express the way we sense our environment, our interaction with the environment. So our culture is actually inside it's essentially in the language itself. The language, you can say, forms the culture informs the language. So things that we do not have in our culture, or we do not experience in our immediate environment, we may not even have word for it at all. Or say, for example, it might be that we have got, if you say, for example, the Eskimos, they have got several words for snow, because they have experienced snow in different forms. In Nigeria, for example, most of our languages will probably have a borrowed word, or we have just one single word for it, because we probably seldom see snow as such. So it carries with it some kind of a cultural connotation. Our beliefs, our customs, social norms is all inherent in our language. And hence, the identity that we say we have as a Nigerian, whether you see yourself as an ethnic group of Igbo, or you're a Hausa, you're a Kanuri, you're a Fulfulde, you're a Tiv, or a Yoruba, or whatever you are, that culture is inherent in your language, and it sort of it tells us how you see the world. Now, so that worldview has a lot of implication. Now, things that you cannot describe, you probably cannot do. So your worldview becomes a kind of cocoon in which you put yourself. It can actually stunt you. It can actually make you not develop. So, and that's the reason why we end up working with other people. We travel overseas, we travel to other cultures, we mix with them, we borrow ideas to expand our worldview. And when we come back, we share the experience with other people. So it becomes part of our cultural identity at the end of the day. So language is very important. It has to do with culture. It has to do with our identity as well. So let's sort of look at Nigerian languages in a kind of context in a way. Now, it's known that there are over 7,000 officially known languages in the world. And unfortunately, only about 40% of them are about 40% of them are spoken by less than, say, 1,000 people. Now, that means that nobody really cares about those languages as such. And you probably not find them in any school. Probably a small group of people use it at home, and that's it. So the possible scenario in terms of going forward for those languages is extinction, nothing more than that. They'll become extinct in a couple of maybe 2 or 3 decades, especially when we now have a situation where we take other languages as a medium of expression, a means of expressing our worldview, a means of expressing our thought, a means of really understanding how our environment is changing. In Nigeria alone, we have more than 520 native languages. And that accounts for about, say, 25% of languages spoken in Africa in total. So you find that just in Nigeria alone, 520 languages, and we speak a lot about 3 key languages: Yoruba, Hausa, Igbo. But there are other languages that I would call them orphan languages that are not really being talked about in the way one would like to see it. I think one of the major problems we're having now is the fact that in the time of internet, when we now have the internet, we have the digital age, languages that are not written become left behind because they're not in an electronic format that can be brought onto the internet to be searched, to be used, to be exchanged, to have the communication in it. You say, for example, Twitter, you look at, say, Facebook, you look at Instagram. Everyone is sort of conversing in a kind of a form of English language in some way. Seldom do you see people using their native language. Some do, but it's seldom. It doesn't happen often. So that means those languages are not participating as such in the internet age, in the digital age. And as such, over time, they will also become extinct. This is the possible scenario for these languages. So, for example, if we look at Nigerian language, why should we care about it? I look at the so-called ethnologue.com, and I look at the hierarchy of languages. So in terms of Nigerian languages that are in the top 100 of our 520 languages, ethnic languages we have, Hausa ranked number 41 with over 63 million people speaking it worldwide. I'm talking about first speakers and second speakers. So it's not only just people whose mother tongue is Hausa, but maybe people who also use it in other form. So first language and second language speakers worldwide, over 63 million. Yoruba is about 47 million and ranks about 49 in the top 100 of languages in the world. Igbo ranks 57 with over 31 million people that speak that language. Now, when you think about this number of people, just this number of people alone, you begin to sort of think about the amount of pent-up market in terms of commerce that we can really do if we can sort of bring these languages onto the internet. If I had a joke with one of my colleagues, I said, look, if we can do this, we can sort of make over 20 million people to become literate with just a twist of by just sort of tapping our fingers, because we say people are illiterate because they do not speak English, for example. But if I speak my own language, you cannot call me illiterate. So if we can bring these languages onto the internet age, into the digital age, suddenly all the speakers, all the native speakers, become literate in their own language as well. So there's something for us to be done to do here. Now, part of the problems that we have that we need to sort of do some work as a community of computer scientists, as a community of artificial intelligence engineers and scientists, is the fact that there are about 29 Nigerian languages that are on the brink of being extinct. They're called endangered because not many people are speaking them. The number of people who are speaking them are shrinking, maybe because they are older people. And over time, when they die off, there's nobody who will be speaking the language. So one way we can really sustain our language is by bringing everything onto the digital world. So that means we can now put all our oral traditions, we document them properly, we vamp up our grammar, the lexicon, all of this put together can be sustained by using technology. And that's essentially what we're going to be talking about today in terms of how do we do that. Now, one of the things that really piqued my attention when I was sort of doing the background reading for this talk I want to give today was this Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. And what it says is that language itself influences your cognition and your worldview. So, for example, let's say you pick somebody, say in my village, for example, and you ask them to describe atomic physics. It's very difficult for them to describe it in their own language. They may not even have words to describe what an atom is, what a molecule is. So that means they're shut off from this whole world of atomic physics, for example. So which means your cognition, your worldview is influenced by your language. Now, if you can bring your language, make it be a living language, and make it sort of to continuously develop it, you have the chance, at least, to be able to sort of bring it to modern, contemporary times, and also maybe some borrowed words that you can put into it, and allow you to be able to use it to spread a new worldview to your people. But more importantly, I'm also interested in the economic and social and political benefit that this can actually bring for us. I will talk about some of them later on. But one interesting thing I want to pick is the following. And I start to be corrected about this. I checked the National Assembly and the House of Rep, and I couldn't find any of the proceedings of those houses recorded in writing. I mean, in Igbo, Hausa, Yoruba, Ufugbe, any of our languages. It's all in English. So, which means we live.
Hello, Prof.
Yes.
Please, sorry to interject. There's a general concern on the chat that your screen is not moving, as in it seems that the slide is not going from one slide to the other. It has been on the first slide.
On the first slide?
Yes.
What about now?
We are still seeing the first slide.
Oh, seriously? Okay, can I just try? Oh, wow. Oh, excuse me then. Excuse me. Just give me 2 minutes. Let me try to see if I can figure out what is going on.
Great. It's now moving.
Oh.
It's now moving.
Okay, so I better not put it in full screen then. Okay, I'll leave it this way then. I thought by putting it in full screen, everyone can see it in a bigger way. Oh, I'm so sorry about that, please. I'm so sorry. Okay. I think I've gone through these slides here. I'm now talking about the political implications of us bringing our languages, at least if we can pick the 3 major languages, bring them to the digital age, contemporary age. I believe that it has implications for not only our worldview, cognition, but there's a political benefit as well. We can now begin to have the House of Parliament, the House of Representatives record the proceedings in those 3 languages. I'm not saying just record by in terms of maybe just have a recording, but actually write it down in those for posterity in our own language. Because 100 years from now, people will ask, what did they do? And it's like we never existed. But if we have this in writing, it's there for posterity. Now, let's now go to the elements of language. One of the things that we sort of catch our attention today is orthography. When we say orthography, we mean the convention of writing. That means the characters you use, the alphabets you use, even the way you spell things, the punctuations you use, what constitutes a word for you, what constitutes an alphabet for you, how do you capitalize, and what does capitalization mean? Where do you put emphasis? That's just essentially what we can say in layman terms, what I mean by orthography. And then we have phonology, where you study the way sound is organized and to form your language. So it means it talks about how this is, we said, for example, if I say, it means something. It means like a, I mean, okay, yes, or it means no. That's sound. And it's not the same as saying I make a specific speech. But phonology, in terms of speech, utter, and the sounds that utter all go into phonology, and people study this as well. And then for diacritics, a lot of our languages, and we'll come back to that a little bit later, are tonal, in the sense that if I say ogumbono, they mean 2 different things. So where do I add the marks to be able to sort of change my pronunciation to distinguish between one word and another word? Those marks that we put on the alphabets are called the diacritics, essentially. And why do we need them? We need them because for a native speaker, when you read maybe a text that has no diacritics, because you are a native speaker and probably you know how to read, you can write in your language, it's probably easy for you to do a kind of a real-time disambiguation. Disambiguation in the sense that you can tell one word from the other one. We call those one homographs, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Okay. Now, when you don't have any marks or any accent on the words, we say they are undiacritized.